Hi everyone, I'm Mili from Mili Mendez Cakes, and this is baby Alistair who will be helping us today. Today we're going to be doing a cook along from Woodfield Pavilion. We're delighted to be here and making this special Venezuelan pudding. Woodfield Pavilion is a very important project for us, and yeah, we'll be happy to hear. So we are going to start with showing you all the ingredients and what we're going to need, and whilst we are baking the pudding, we are going to be talking a little bit about the history, the ingredients, and also about Woodfield project. So let's start with the ingredients and what you're going to need. You're going to need a hand mixer or a standard mixer. And you're going to need either a oval dish, an oven dish, which you can put in the fridge because we're not going to need to cook it. And you can use either a cake ring, which is something like this, which is what I use to just to take it out after it's been cold, or you can use a spring foam cake tin, 7 or 8 inch. That's if you want the pudding to look like the one in the picture, but otherwise just use just a rectangular or an oval oven dish. So I'm going to put this away because I won't be needing it. And now the ingredients. So we have 200 grams of unsalted butter, which is already on my bowl because we're going to be beating this up until it's nice and creamy. And then we have 4 egg yolks. We have some roasted almonds, and what I've done is that I crushed them. We have 180 grams of Venezuelan chocolate. I'm going to be talking about the chocolate later. We have 300 grams of icing sugar, and in here I have mixed the milk with the cocoa powder. So it's just all liquid, and this is what we're going to be using for the biscuits. And we are going to be using some digestive biscuits. Now, obviously, the original recipe, as is from Venezuela, we don't have digestive biscuits, but we have something called galletas Maria. This is the closest that I can find, or also I've been told that rich tea biscuits are also the same, but for the time being I've been using digestive. So we are going to start to make the dessert. It's a very easy dessert. It's not originally from Venezuela. It's actually a French recipe that came to Venezuela in the 1800s, and then the Venezuelans changed it. But one of the key elements is the Venezuelan chocolate. I can see that. Yeah, he does definitely want the biscuits. And what makes it special is obviously the Venezuelan chocolate. Also, it's a great pudding that you can make at home with children, as you can see, because you don't need the oven, you don't need to cook anything, you just need the microwave to melt the chocolate. And it's something that in Venezuela everyone makes it for weekends. We used to make it a lot when we were younger and we were studying, because it's just easy to make, but it's delicious and a real treat. So we are going to start. We're going to mix the butter. So butter is there on its own. We're going to beat it until it's nice and creamy and white. Obviously, forgive me for the noise. If you don't have a big mixer, you can do it just with a hand mixer. So I'm just going to put this on. I can see your comments coming. You can wait. Right, so obviously, if you have a little one in this link, just make sure that you keep the little fingers and hands out. It used to be a lot easier when he was smaller, but now that he wants to help, he likes to put his fingers everywhere. So I'm just going to give it a quick mix. It's still looking a little bit yellow, So I'm just gonna beat it a little bit more. And then once I do that, I'm gonna get the chocolate, make sure that the chocolate is in a microwave-proof bowl. If you don't have a microwave, you can melt it in bain-marie. So just put a pan with a little bit of water, put another pan on top, make sure that the top pan is not touching the bottom, and then just stir it in the heat until it's all melted. So I'm gonna put the mixer on and I'm gonna go to microwave. If you do it in the microwave, put about a minute, mix it, and another minute. Try not to put it for too long, because if you burn the chocolate, then it's not going to taste very nice and you're going to ruin it. So you still want a few pieces in there, and as you're mixing it, you're going to see that it comes a bit silky. But I'm going to put this on, I'm going to go to a microwave, and I'll show you how the chocolate needs to look. This is the chocolate that I'm using, and this specific chocolate is from the coast of Venezuela, but we have different chocolates. I will show you some more, and I will show you the raw chocolate and everything else so you can see the difference. But the best one to use is if you got the drops. It's just easy to melt. You can obviously pour yourself a glass of wine. I don't drink, but I will make myself a cup of tea, and just suggest, please, have a glass of wine while the chocolate is in the microwave. Some of them started to melt around it, so what you want to do is mix it, because the ball will obviously pick up, mix it, and make sure that you're wearing an almond glove, and I'm going to put it back in the microwave. The butter, so we take it out, and then we can see that it's a lot creamier, and you can see how it's it's spread in the bowl. Make sure you give it a good mix. Get the one from the bottom, and then we're just going to put it a little bit more until it's looking a little bit whiter. What it does is, when you beat in the butter like this, is the more you beat it and the whiter it is, it takes the flavour away. So it makes it a little bit milder, and that's why you always beat the butter, for example, when you're making cakes, and it becomes creamy. So it just takes that harsh taste of butter and just become like a cream. So I'm gonna put this on again. Check on the chocolate. So now it's looking slightly better, but it still needs a bit more. So I'm going to mix. And if you have a baby, just make sure you're giving them lots of pieces. And I'm going to put it for another minute. This is a technical problem. My husband will be helping me tomorrow, so he will be the camerographer. In the meantime, I'm trying to work with a tripod in my washing rack. So let's put this back. There we go. Now, this is much better. You can see how the chocolate is so silky and the color is shiny. You see? Very shiny. So we're gonna mix it, mix it, mix it. Keep it away from the baby, and then I'm gonna leave it to one side. Now, the bucket should be ready by now. Let's have a look. Yeah, so it's looking better. So it's looking creamier, you can see, and soft. So what we're going to do now is that we are going to add egg yolks, one by one. So here we go. We're going to put the bowl, and we're going to put it in minimum, and we're going to add the first egg yolk. So if we do it in minimum, when you're mixing eggs with butter, you always want to make sure that you turn the stick down, and on the first egg yolk or the first egg, you mix it to minimum, because the consistency, it melts better. And then once that you've done the first egg, you can then increase the speed. And that's exactly the same principle when you're making cakes as well. So we just leave it a little bit, and then we'll see when it's starting to mix. And then Alice can have a look as well, and try to touch. And then I'm just going to increase the speed a little bit. Any more egg, you can add the second one. Reduce the speed again so it doesn't splash everywhere. Add the second yolk, and then you can increase the speed straight away. One more. Yes, I'm glad that tomorrow my husband is going to be working with the camera, because otherwise it would be a disaster. So, hello to Rosanna. Very serious. Oh, you can get a smile now. Look at the smile. And now we're going to have a cup. And we're going to stop it. Give it a good stir. And then just make sure you stirring everything around. And then it's starting to look a little bit yellowish because of the egg. And then let's try a little bit more. Let's give it a good fast mix. Make sure that you have a plate underneath. So that's going to be the plate where we're going to take it out. And now I'm going to add the last step. Once we're mixing that, I guess I can talk a little bit about Woodfield project and how we came about it. So when I lived just around the corner, we didn't have farms opposite in the common, and when Alistair was about a week old, it was November time, so it's very cold and wet. I took him out for a walk because, you know, being a new mom in the winter, you need to really get out, you know, and take a little bit of fresh air. And as I was walking along, I came across this lovely little building, but I have no idea what it was. So I walked in, you know, and there was a lovely lady. I had no idea that I was going to find that inside. And then we met Janet, who was running the cafe at the time, and there were about three gentlemen playing music, actually, guitar. So we sat down, we had a cup of tea, and then Alistair had a tea. And then he fell asleep in there. We just sat down, we listened to music, we had a cup of tea, and we had a chat. And it was just such a special place because I didn't feel like I was going into a big restaurant, a cafe where, you know, everyone is so serious. So it just felt like if I was going into, you know, a friend's house. They were super welcoming, it was super relaxed, and it was in the middle of nowhere. It was raining outside, but I could sit down and, you know, look through the windows, the common. On a great day, and it, you know, it made me feel warm, it made me feel at home in a very weird way. So after that we continued going, having cups of tea, and then Pretty started serving the amazing food, and so we made sure that we kept going to have some delicious food. And I took some of my girlfriends from my bump and baby class, because again there was so much space. There were 10 of us, we all had prams, we have babies, and trying to get into a place, a restaurant, is a nightmare. So it was a perfect place for us to go, you know, to our prams together, the children, and it was always so welcoming. So it's a very special place for me as a mommy, and I'm delighted to be able to take part of it. You know, they have amazing classes, great groups, and it's a community. You know, we're losing a lot of communities, and I think this is important place for everyone, for them, for the future, and for, you know, just as a mum, as anyone. So please do come and support us, buy lots of cakes, buy lots of food, and take part in some of the classes that they're happening there. Right, so we're going back to our bottle now. This will be ready by done now, so let's give it one last mix. And we can see the volume, how it has grown from the beginning. Here we go. And now what we're going to do is that we're going to add the icing sugar. Now, I'm sure all of you, those of you who have used icing sugar before, will know that if you add it once the machine is on, you make a big mess in the house. So, add the icing sugar. Two things. If you have a mixer and then you have one of these protectors, obviously use it. If you have a hand mixer, what you can do is you can add the icing sugar in parts and then just use a tea towel and try to put it on top. But start slow, and then little by little start mixing it. Otherwise you'll have icing sugar everywhere, and this sugar is quite sticky, and because it's hot, it's not easy to clean. So I'm gonna add all my icing sugar. into the mixture. Here we go. We are going to mix it again. Give it a quick mix. Mix it once more. We're going to give it one more stir, put it on one more time, and then you can feel that it's starting to get a little bit harder as well, which is exactly what we want. That way. And then you're going to mix it. Right, so that is the last stir, and we are almost there. This is what takes most of the time, to be honest. This is kind of like the base, which is the cream of the dessert. And then mix. Put it back, and then we're gonna start in a very low setting, and we're gonna mix our chocolate. Make sure that by now it would cool down a little bit. Mix it, give it a good stir. And if we're using condensed milk, we use condensed milk a lot in Venezuela for lots of pudding. It's something that you know is wherever you go to a house, there's always a kind of condensed milk for anything. What we do, we tend to make like two holes, one so you can put it out, the other one so it breathes, so it's the easiest. I'm not going to add a lot of condensed milk because I'm going to put it on I'm going to dismold it, so I want it to be quite hard so it looks like a cake. But if you're going to make it, for example, in one of these, you can put, you know, a little bit more of condensed milk because then it will be a lot more creamy. And when you cut it and you serve it, it's not a problem because it's not going to collapse. But for this purpose, because we're going to make it look amazing, we need to make sure that it holds slightly. So I'm going to add a little bit, just a touch, just for flavour. There we go. And we're going to start adding the chocolate now. Again, use the minimum, and then we're going to add the chocolate very slowly. It's getting a little bit warm now. And if you've got a spatula, rubber spatula, it's perfect to just pour all the chocolate out. It's quite hard when you got someone strapped to you at the front because your distance between things. But it's the only way that I can get things done when I'm baking cakes. And believe it or not, that's how I bake most of the cakes. So I try to do it when he's napping, and if he's not napping, I'll do it with him because it's easier and he enjoys it. And now we are going to mix it a little bit. We're going to give it one more stir. If you have children, all the children who have chocolate, I'm sure they will be delighted to be licking the bowl where the chocolate was done, and I'm sure everyone will as well. And let's have a look. So we're going to give it a good stir. Make sure that all the butter at the bottom is mixed with the chocolate and everything around the sides. Here we go, and we're gonna give it one more mix. Right, that's it. So now that we have our cream together, which is nice and dark and delicious, and I know someone is desperate to touch and eat, but we're still too little to enjoy any sugar or any puddings, so it will be a bit longer. So we have our lovely cream. Let's give it a stir and I'll show you. Here we go. So you can see it's all mixed. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to make it. Now this is the fun part, and I think the easy part as well. It's a very easy pudding to make. So get your tins, your dishes, whatever you're going to be using, and what we're going to do is that we are going to put it in layers. So you have a couple of options here. You can be adventurous and you can make it different types. I'm going to use the whole biscuits. A lot of people cut it in pieces and you can make different layers. So the whole basis of the pudding is that you make layers of cream, biscuits, crushed almonds, and then the same, and we're building it that way. But as I said, you can crush the biscuits. You can, for example, I guess you could instead of chocolate powder for the milk, you can use coffee, so you can add a little bit of flavor. So it really is up to you. So the best thing that we're going to do is that we're going to make a layer of biscuits. So the biscuits, we're going to dunk them in milk, in the chocolate milk. We don't want to leave them there too long because then they become too soft. But we're going to make sure that they're covered, and then we're going to make a layer with them. So because obviously they're round biscuits, and you can make them pieces and then kind of like fill the holes. I know you are bored. And then you can fill some of the holes. So if I show you, there we go. So So that's the first thing that we're gonna do, and then we're gonna put a layer of our delicious chocolate cream. So you can use spoon, bottom of the spoon, and just spread it. Spread it all over the biscuits. There is no rule on what you do and how you make it. You know, it really is something that you can experiment. So we've done a layer of our delicious sauce, and then we're gonna get crushed almonds, and then we're gonna just pour them around. And again, you know, if you don't like almonds, you don't have to use any nuts. I guess you can use things like pistachios as well, which would be quite nice. Anything that you want. So it's, you know, like anything, I guess, in any country, you know, everything, the recipes, like, they vary from region to region. Some people put more things than others, but and that's why I put Nutella as an optional on the ingredients, because some people like to add Nutella to it. I'm not going to be adding any because I quite like the, you know, Venezuelan chocolate is delicious itself. So I think Nutella can be quite overpowering sometimes. I use it to just decorate it around when I want to, like, stick, you know, the crushed almonds on around the cake or on the top, just for some decorations. But I think sometimes the Nutella overpowers the flavor of the chocolate, especially if you're using a delicious chocolate. You want to make sure you can enjoy it. And then I've done a layer. I'll show you, but my husband will be here tomorrow to show. And then I'm just gonna dunk more biscuits, and I'm gonna lay them. And if you're having a cup of tea, obviously you can have a biscuit. But again, you know, galletas Maria is something that is just like here with the digestives. If you go to any house, you know, there's always a pack of galletas Maria. They don't have much flavor, but you can use them for a lot of puddings. So if you're making, for example, a lemon pie, or any chocolate pie, rather than making, you know, pastry, you can use the same. So for example, you use digestive biscuits with butter, and then you make a delicious base for the pies, and then you just stick it in the fridge. When it gets cold and it's hard, then you can just put any topping in there. You know, again, we make a delicious lemon pie in Venezuela, which is with condensed milk. You just mix condensed milk with Philadelphia cheese over the digestive biscuits and butter, and it's delicious. So we've done another layer. Now, the reason I'm making this with Venezuelan chocolate is that I know that not many people know a lot about Venezuela, which is obviously in South America. But Venezuela produces an amazing chocolate. Sadly, it doesn't get exported or is not very well known. But we produce one of the best cacao in the world. There is a company here, and I'm sure everyone has come across Willie's cacao, who is British, and he bought a farm and he sells Venezuelan chocolate, and that's the one that I recommended for this pudding, because you can find in any supermarket. But the cacao beans, it depends on the region in Venezuela. So for example, you have Sur del Lago, which is where Maracaibo is. This is where the oil is. For those, again, you know, Venezuela is the 5th or one of the largest producers of oil, and in that region where most of the oil reserves are, they grow sur del lago cacao beans, which has a very aromatic and distinctive flavor. And then the rest, they come from the northeast of Venezuela. Again, you know, very, very different flavors, and they're quite nutty, delicious flavor. So I will show you how some of the cacao beans, which is, it's funny because people, you know, whenever they think chocolate, they never think that they come the process for it, and it's quite it's not as easy as people think. You know, it takes a long time for these beans to grow, to mature, to make good chocolate, that is. So with all my cakes, my Mili Mendez cakes, one of my signature recipe is a chocolate, because I use Venezuelan cacao to its purest, which is about 72%, so it's very rich. And also the cake is made with actual chocolate rather than some just cacao powder, so it's rich and it's delicious. Same with the ganache. I know you're getting bored, but we're almost there. So this is my third layer of cream. Oh, I know. Hi. I know. Look. Hey. Do you want us? Let's give you a spoon. Hey. Oh, shall we give you a maraca? Let's have a look. Where is your maraca? Here we go. No. Of course. There we go. So we get some music as well. Maracas from Venezuela. And now, so this is the last layer. And then I'm gonna do one more layer. We're learning about gravity, as you can see. So we throw things on the floor just because it's fun. And this is gonna be one more layer of almonds. And put them at the end, by the edges, so it looks nice and pretty. And obviously, if you're not making this at home because you're not a keen cook, you can come and try it tomorrow at the pavilion with some of the tasty treats. And this is my last layer of biscuits. So that's why you need about a pack, plus the ones that you eat. So my last layer, there we go, 1, 2. If you run out of milk, just obviously add a little bit more. 3 and 4. And here we go. Right, so that's our last one. I'm gonna spread the rest of the chocolate cream. Again, there are no rules on how many layers you want of biscuits or cream, so, but I would say just use some biscuits because the cream is quite rich, so you definitely want to make sure you have like a little bit of like the crunch. Yeah, I know you want that, but I am so sorry. Right. Here we go. So this is my last layer. I'm gonna make it flat, make sure it goes to the edges. That's it. Yep. And then that's it for the time being. So what we're gonna do is that we are going to put this in the fridge. And we're gonna, yes, I know, you're saying something. Hello. And we're gonna put it in the fridge. Hopefully, if you can leave it overnight, that's the best. But otherwise, just a few, just leave it a few hours until it's hard enough. Yes, of course. And I'm going to show you one that I made yesterday, which is here. and that's it. But yes, I hope you enjoy it. And please come and try it tomorrow if you haven't made at home. Feel free to experiment and just, you know, make at home. Show us some pictures. Let us know. Tag Mili Mendez and the Wood Food Pavilion and let us know what have you added or what have you changed. And he agrees with that. So thank you very much for watching it. And yes, I hope you enjoyed it. Well, see you later, everyone. Bye bye. And